Okay, today I have a very special um, correction and lesson for Kumosuke. We're going to show how to apply Krenz' way of doing studies. How can we do simplification to make drawing more accurately, more easy? How can we simplify down our reference to understand it better? And what that does for us, essentially. And I'll also be demoing the process too, as well. But for starting out, I'm going to take a look and show kind of what is going on with the drawing that you currently have. So what we're going to see here is I've gone ahead and kind of surrounded the reference with a large, simple shape with not many sides to it. As we can see here, the head has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides to the shape that I've used to simplify it, and the body only has 1, 2, 3. The fewer sides you have, generally, that's going to help you see things more simply. As we can see here, it clearly lets us see this space where the arm drops down compared to the upper chest here. Maybe you can see how much space is between the legs and the rest of that silhouette of the character. Silhouette being what we see going around the whole entire character. Silhouette is just another way of saying outline. So this is the silhouette of the character, just like that. And generally, when you want to do our simplifications, we're gonna leave out these little, doohickeys. In this case, a racket. These ribbons or whatever kind of drapery you call them. The belt, the sash coming off of the kimono. We're gonna leave those outside of your general silhouette. It's gonna make things easier to handle, keeps things simple. So what we're going to do here is actually I just copied that layer where I drew the I need to here we go. So I've gone ahead and copied that over, and we can see kind of immediately where things have gone astray here. The position of the legs here has changed significantly. We can kind of connect or see how the head relates to the legs. That's probably the easy way to do it here. You draw a line down from the neck, you can kind of see what the legs are doing, right? And we can see right now they're currently fairly out of alignment in terms of posture wise. So that's one way to check things, is just seeing where the head kind of relates to the legs. That's going to be really helpful for keeping the posture in check. Just like that. And so what else? Again, we can see there's that gap here that shows up that we currently don't quite experience here. We have the hair kind of popping out too far, and that hair should be popping in like this, giving us a narrower face portion to all that's happening here. Take a different color here. The face is actually a lot thinner in shape here, speaking just graphically and not trying to get complicated. Just what is the space of the in our drawing where the face is exposed, and that's all that we're really looking at here. So you can see that is a fair bit different, and we can see also that the far side ear has become too high up compared to the near side ear, and that's due to perspective exaggeration. The exaggeration of perspective effects, where things that are further away from us are often at a different point than we suspect. Okay, and so how do we, knowing all this, how should we actually start the drawing, knowing that it's possible to have these issues pop up like this? How can we take this idea of simplification, and how do we actually take it to the stage that you have it, right? How do you integrate the two together? And the main way is you just keep on cutting into your shape that you've created, this what some people call a bounding box. You keep on cutting into it, the next thing inside of it. So you would cut into this hair shape here to give you the face shape. You'd cut into the other side. You cut into where the hair comes in. And so you want to avoid the eyes, mouth, nose when you're just starting out and blocking in your drawing, because those are going to be generally, for a beginner especially, they're not going to be very intuitive to what their actual size is, because we're not used to really what are the proportions for like anime style characters. The face shape is often significantly more small than you think it's going to be. So it can be very helpful to stick with just blocking in the face. Some people call it the face mask, the face area, and leave the eyes and other things alone. And then then we go in and we can cut in other aspects of the drawing. This can be simplified here as such. We cut in this portion. Is really easy to see here. And then you apply the other side. So generally, if you were drawing, you would generally not be doing what's happening on the left at the same time. But this is what you're doing kind of mentally without necessarily seeing what's happening on the left, but you think to yourself, oh, okay, this arm is, where is that in relation to the whole shape? Can I see this area here? How large is that area that I'm looking at? How far down is that arm going? And we try to get that to be relatively in place. And so again, we cut in here. We can cut in. We can cut in for these bags a little bit. And when you draw these bags, we're gonna really just draw it as simple as we can. If we can simplify that down to just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides is quite adequate enough to capture what is really happening with this bag shape. So simplification is really about not getting lost in drawing, oh, let's do this, and then we got to do this part, this section, and then we got to draw the third section. Like, it looks like this because I'm tracing it, but when we actually are drawing it, what happens is, what do you have here, where you've changed the how they relate a lot to each other. Oh, I'm gonna do this one, then I gotta do the next one, and then I gotta do the next one, and then suddenly the overall silhouette of that area, the overall space of that area has changed quite significantly. For example, here, this section is actually quite thinner than this next one here. And if you're drawing them one by one, it's fairly easy for that to kind of just sneak up on you. So that's why we often block out the whole shape first. We block that whole thing out. And we have the space that we've created up here. So we know how far away the top of the bags are from the arm, from where the bottom of the arm is, which is this line here. And we block in this. We know how far away it is from the bottom. And we know that it's not coming out of this simplification of the silhouette. And we know, and then we can cut in further if you want. But right now this is adequate. But just for demonstration's sake, you would see how that relates there. As such. Well, even this is a little bit inaccurate because I kind of, let's see what I did here. It's because if you look here, this is actually much further out in the reference. So we need to expand out this shape. And you can hold this shape in your mind when you draw it. That's like the best way to draw, is to just have that shape sitting in your mind, not necessarily being seen, but it's in your short-term memory. That's the shape that you're trying to draw. And then this is what you kind of get now. So going forward, we're going to leave that simple for now. We have where the arm comes up here, where the hand is. We have where the sleeve comes in here. It just goes down. We have where the sleeve comes in here. Then we draw where that hand fits into. The key for drawing the hands is to really just apply a bounding box to it, similar to what we've been doing for the whole silhouette. And that's how that goes. Cutting in, continually cutting in to create smaller shapes. And for the eyes, we're going to try to see into this area of the face. Where can I draw a line that connects both of the bottoms of the eyes together? We're going to see that approximately here. And we can see that top of the eyes is going to come in like that, as such. And we can really simplify these eyes as just boxes, really, to start out with. We don't need to worry about the details right away. Then where the mouth goes, as such. And that's really how you progress the drawing forward. You just keep on cutting in. Now let's do an actual drawing where we have natural looking strokes and see where things go. Okay, then let's see. So, got my pen tool here. I might not be talking too much, but let's see how we're gonna go with this. So, the first thing you want to do is we're gonna block in the hole again. So, trying to imagine what that looks like here. I'm gonna block that in. Gonna draw up. What also is useful is we can see if you're drawing it at the same size as our reference, we can know that our top of the box is going to be up here. And what we can do is actually overshoot that shape, that side, and leave it larger than it actually is. We can come in and find out where it actually is going to come out of. And the same applies here. If we kind of go down here, we know that it's going to be this-ish wide, right? So just looking at the space that our drawing takes up. And we can go ahead and try to find how this fits in. So what is the distance between these two ears? Try to represent that. And we go down. And we know that this point is really easy to see. Where is that? Like up and down on the canvas. We're going to try to find that height point. And somewhere around there would be good. So then we have that. We can go ahead and optionally, as a choice you can make, is you can go ahead and make that just kind of fade out like that. You can even make it turn blue. As long as you can still see it, that's the important thing. Now we can go ahead and you want to cut out again further what comes in next. What can we cut out of that shape? Go ahead and cut out where the neck might be. Cut out where the hair comes in. Might be good to flip canvas as well. Where is this coming out? Where is the head going to be? Border of that hair. It may look a little bit awkward if you're trying to make it look exactly like the reference right away. It's important to keep your mind focused on what is the actual space that these objects are taking up. What is the simplified shapes that are actually there. Cut in. So I make sure, where is that height that we're looking at here? So if we've placed that wrong, it's going to become an issue for us. That's one of the main drawbacks of this process, is that if you don't have that much on the canvas right away, it's easy to, if you commit too early to where something should be, that might actually mess you up. So it's important to stay fluid. Important to stay fluid and don't commit right away to what you put down onto the canvas. So here we're trying to see what is this width of this neck? Where is that in comparison to what we have for the character silhouette here? And it's roughly like that. Let's go ahead and block out where that face is kind of coming in here. And so what kind of happens is you can have this overall shape to the head with the hair on, and then this space for the face here. Is one way of approaching the head area, blocking that in. So as you can see, I need to actually really pull this up quite a bit more. And see what have I done here that is awkward. So the head comes out further. I'm trying to get this working better here. What is the distance between the neck and this area here? How can we draw that properly? As we can then see here that we have this length here. I can look at this and see that I have quite significantly messed that up. It's too far out, so we need to go ahead and pull that back in here. And look at this space here. How wide is this? What is that width like here? And we can go ahead and properly bring that in. And that means we need to then pull back this face again. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and look what's happening down here. You have a portion where the silhouette kind of curves inwards, concave, meaning it pushes inward. And we can kind of represent that by a curve that comes in like this, and that comes back down. We can go ahead and find where the legs go. As we saw earlier, there's a certain relationship between the neck and the legs that can really help us draw what's happening. So, and we also can draw the legs by not drawing one leg at a time, such as 1 and then 2, but rather we treat it as one shape. How wide are the 2 legs together? And then we draw it in the middle line after, rather than approaching in the other direction. So we simplify that bottom of the clothing as such. Then, what is the next logical thing to cut out? We can go ahead and cut that hand out a little bit more. We can go ahead and try to see where the top of the hand is again. Let's clean that up a little bit. And it's good. It's okay to draw on your reference like this. It's not cheating or anything like that. It's just a way of, to yourself, especially if you're starting out or warming up, especially, it's good to go ahead and do that sort of thing. So we see what is this actually doing in this area here. If we look at this shape as a whole, this whole area, what is happening here? Where is the top of the sleeve in that space? And then that really just starts to come into play here as such. Now we can see that to go in further in detail, there's a pocket here. A kind of thin shape that pops out here. This gives a lot of dimensionality to the neck area. So if we can represent that, that's going to help us a lot to make the drawing seem better, I suppose you would say. More dimensional. And so we can go ahead now and cut out this part of the hair, perhaps. Go ahead there. We can cut out the bang area that happens here. Suggest some detail here. We can go ahead and throw in those ears. We really want to see this and treat this as just a simple shape here. They're really just triangles are popping out of our silhouette here. And then we go back in and see what this shape is doing. We have the kimono where it pops in or folds in, like here. We have the other side of the sleeve we can put in. We can do the same here. block in those bags now. See, where is that hitting the bottom here? How much space is between the bottom of the skirt and our bags? And when you block in your shapes, you don't necessarily need each side to be straight, like a straight line. It could also be curved lines. So when you're blocking a shape, you can keep that in mind. It's okay to slightly curve those sides to represent the object better. And so that goes on as such. And at this point, you have what would be called, everything is blocked in, right? So everything that is mostly important here. It's technically it's okay to take that, pop it down. A person who is drawing this traditionally might go ahead and just take an eraser and lighten all of that down. And they might go ahead and draw now more freely the drawing. This is where it would be more like kind of filling in squares. What do they call that painting method? I don't know what it's called. It's what people usually do, just sort of for fun, filling in the boxes. But let me go ahead and I want to get the drawing that we're copying into the subview here on the left side so that we can see it in detail when we draw it. Just be on one moment here. Go ahead and pop that in. And so now what we can do is we can actually bring that up, zoom into our drawing, go ahead and have a little bit more fun now. We can be a little bit more free. We have a roughly accurate sketch for where everything should go. So as long as we stick within that, we can now kind of draw the way you might want to draw. We can bring everything up so it's the same size. That helps a lot. You still want to start out simple. Don't want to get too focused on details straight away. Just block in. Just now with a bit more feeling than you were doing beforehand. The pocket there, we had where the eyes. This is where the hair was going. And so that really just kind of flows naturally into this kind of process. You might want to flip your drawing around and see what things are going, what's happening. Try to check things are falling out of place. See his face is actually comes out a bit more, curves back in as such. Go ahead and pull this up. So you can really start having fun with this. As we can see, we haven't done general to specific because we already have accomplished that with our initial sketch here. So it is okay to do what I'm doing here. You could also could be more focused on just drawing it generally without going into like the strong detail in the head straight away. But it's really okay to do this because you've done really the groundwork, and stuff can really just happen here really quickly because you have really good idea of where everything is, especially if you remember that initial process you were doing. If you remember where things were, any mistakes that you were making during that process, all that can come in here and really help you out. Hands are still going to be a struggle usually, so yeah, you're going to want to keep that simple for now. Don't go into it expecting to draw it right away yet. Just block in something for it. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and that's it. Don't make it complicated yet. And even if you're done with your sketch and all you're left with is these hands in this state, it's not the end of the world. So we do just want to keep that simple, starting out with this finalized sketch that we're doing here. Again, it's good to keep on flipping things around. Keeping the zoom levels close to being the same. And even despite what we've done with our initial sketch, our drawing isn't going to be perfect. And that's really okay. What's really important is that the big shapes were correct. It's okay now to just really take a good look at our reference and just appreciate it. Appreciate what it's doing. You can even go ahead and draw in that racket here. What is it? How far is it? It's the important thing. If you can't draw it detailed, that is perfectly fine. Just give yourself time to figure that out a little bit. And that can be okay for now. You can always come back to it later. So and here we have the legs, really roughly doing the same thing as they were before. You can come in here and add a little bit more interest to what's happening here. Notice I didn't really copy all that detail here. I really just kind of kept that loose. Because really this isn't going to make you being able to copy exactly what all these things are doing here isn't going to break the bank. You can just go ahead and go with how it feels. And that's generally going to be keeping your strokes loose. Don't draw it from left to right. That's going to kill the vibes of it. You know, jump around and like kind of just pull everything together here. Just be loose. So we have the bags here. Come in here and block in more of what's happening here. You can add more undulations. The good thing about when we block in our big shapes, we can add in undulations to that shape now. And it's actually, those undulations don't need to match exactly what's happening in our reference anymore. Because really what's important is that the shapes were in proportion, the overall proportion at a large scale. So now we can really just go in and just add a little bit of something. Doesn't need to be, you know, exactly what's happening in the reference. And we can suggest that bag in the back, kind of like that. Let's give it some detail. So we have the sleeve coming here. We have some fold details that we can add in here. Go ahead and add some that detail that pops in here. We can even draw in some highlights. We could pop in the highlight for the eyes. Just erase that out, and then we do that. You can suggest where the eye white exists for the eye. Just like so. Go ahead and clean up this line weight a little bit, being a little bit too dark. Darken up that nose area a little bit. You can really start getting finicky here if you would like. Whatever about the drawing that interests you, you can go ahead and spend more time on it than the other parts. It's not necessarily important that everything in the drawing matters to you. You can take a look and draw what catches your attention. That's the nice thing about drawing. So you have a connection with the reference if you allow yourself. And you can always erase stuff and redraw it again. You can go ahead and add a little bit more spice to what's happening right there. So again, the idea of what was happening with these frills on the skirt, right? It's not critical that these undulations in your hair match exactly what's happening in our reference. What's important is that if we look at that reference, we see that there's a lot of stuff, these micro details that are happening. And if you look at my drawing here, we're really lacking some of that undulations that are happening. So we can like add our own. They don't need to match exactly, but the idea is that we add some of that back in. Same applies to here. So we have that happen. This kind of pops out like that. And you just keep on drawing. Just keep on working on it. You can add the tone for the eyes. For the nose, for the mouth. And probably the facial proportions are not going to be exactly the same. And that's really, in my opinion, okay. We can, if you like, we can go ahead and adjust this a little bit so that's a little bit more close. But the way we had it just now is also perfectly okay. And we could even suggest a line for the shadow in the hair. We could even paint that line in if we really wanted to, but it's not necessary. And so what we're happening now is you're seeing is that there's areas in our sketch that are more refined than the others. And that is also perfectly okay. That is normal. Go ahead and try to add in what's happening with the side of that kimono. So when we approach the hand, the blocking approach is really actually very useful here. So we zoom in a little bit, because we can really take the overall approach we've been doing and just zoom in on it here. What is that overall shape actually doing? You can see that it's actually fairly straight up top here. These shapes kind of flow in as such. What is this shape doing? What is this like? There's actually not that much gap in that shape there. And go ahead and how far is that line? What is that doing? See 3 lines there. We can see where that line, where that index finger comes in. And the thumb comes out. And that's really okay. It's not the best hand I've ever drawn, but it looks like a hand. Go ahead and take care of what's happening here. On the other hand, zoom in so that the shapes are all roughly the same size. And go ahead. Where does that palm start? Where does the hand start? And these hands aren't perfectly drawn in the reference either. And that's something you're going to see as well with anime art. Go ahead and just adjust this a little bit. And block in where these fingers are doing their thing. And a finger popping out again. You can kind of draw a little triangle to show that there. The line is here. It's really just paying attention to the spaces. If you can treat the hand like an abstract painting, that's really kind of what it is. There's a lot of stuff happening there to be able to see. Does allow you to see what it is. Forget that it's a hand necessarily. Because if you try to strictly draw what you think it's going to look like, that's why it's not going to turn out well. Because you don't know what it looks like yet. You haven't drawn enough hands. So allow yourself to just relax with the hands. Don't be too worried. Let what happens happen. We can draw these thingies. Whatever these things are, the bag strings. You can just go ahead and draw whatever. Just a little something something. Just relax. A silhouette to it, an outer shape, and then shapes that cut out the insides. That's all we really need. You don't need to be too worried about it. And so yeah. Go ahead and follow this down. Add some of these details there, it's nice. Add some of the detail here. Be really light with these lines, because these interior details are not going to be as thick in their line weight than everything else. So go ahead and clean this up more. You can suggest some of these folds that happen here. Again, stay light. Stay light. Don't worry too much. And that's how we can approach our drawing from a Krenz standpoint. And I really prefer to go ahead and draw a second time like this more freely, because the initial first step provides a very blocky thing. You're going to be a lot of erasing involved to make it look the way you want it to. This is a way to kind of connect the two together. And let's see, how accurate did we actually do here? So we take this, go ahead and pull that over. How did we do? Looks like my drawing is smaller. So I'll go ahead and pull that up in size. Go ahead and pull that opacity down. See where our drawing lies here. Pull that up to the left. Not that. Pull this over to the left. And see, it's not going to be perfect. You can see that I already kind of knew that the this line here, this curve here, was a little bit not captured properly. That's not the end of the world. So we can see that was off about that. What about the neck and the head overall? What is that looking like here? If I move that over. So they really have the nose area pushed out quite significantly. So I've actually finagled that a little bit. And the overall face shape is really, really circular here. So if I go in and correct it, maybe, I can go ahead and do that. Really go in and this is a form of study. Go ahead and overlaying your drawing. Where did you go wrong? You're allowed to do that. You are allowed to do that. So we go ahead and just, fix it. Just fix it up a little bit. That's why we kind of study, right, in the first place, is to really learn what's happening and to be surprised. Let yourself be surprised. Don't be afraid of what you did wrong. Because when you figure out what you do wrong, that's when you have something you can remember next time. So we can go ahead and we try to make that really round at the top. Try to capture that. And then maybe you might go ahead and push out that face shape a bit more than I had done before. Art is an open book test. You're allowed to do what you need to do for the drawing, for you to learn. Don't hold yourself back from doing things like this. And there you go. Go ahead and bring that back up. The wrong one. Pull that back up. Yeah. I think that's a successful study. A successful drawing. Thank you for watching. That was how to do a study. How should you approach different parts of that study to have things be, roughly where they should go. And then how at what point do you add those details, and how do you encroach onto actually adding in those details? So hopefully that helps anybody out who is trying to learn to draw. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit more of a change here. As you can see here, this section is still comes out too far. I'm going to add that, really make that a little bit steeper in that angle so it matches the reference better. It's a really nice, beautiful silhouette to the head. So let's go ahead and let this person show us how to do it. And just like that, we have our drawing.